In 1786, the Royal Navy officer Sir Charles Middleton wrote a letter to a young Conservative MP, urging him to lead the movement calling for the abolition of slavery. At the time, the slavery trade route was so central to Britain that it accounted for 80% of its foreign income. British ships were carrying 40,000 enslaved men, women and children across the Atlantic every year, in horrendous conditions. It seemed like an impossible task. William Wilberforce, who received that letter, said he felt the great importance of the subject and thought himself unequal to the task allotted to him. But the following year he committed to leading the Parliamentary campaign. He did so for 20 years, until in 1807 Parliament made the slave trade illegal throughout the British Empire. He continued to be an advocate well after stepping down from Parliament, and in 1833, just 3 days before he died, he received news that the bill to fully abolish slavery was now certain to pass. Throughout that time, he was motivated by his Christian faith, encouraged by fellow believers like John Newton and the Clapham Sect, and supported by the wider abolitionist movement. Christians have a long heritage of caring about slavery. But despite the efforts of people like Wilberforce, it is still a very real issue in our world today. An estimated 50 million people live in modern slavery on any given day. That's 10 million higher than in 2016. 28 million are estimated to be in forced labour. 22 million in forced marriages, more than 6 million in forced sexual exploitation. 1 in 4 victims are children. So how should we think about this as Christians? And just as importantly, what can we do about it? Well, slavery has been a part of virtually every culture in history, and Israelite law did not abolish it. But unlike the surrounding nations, it did heavily regulate it. The Israelites were forbidden from enslaving one another, and in a world where slaves were routinely abused, God's law was designed to protect them from mistreatment. And God's ultimate desire was for people to be free. Kidnapping another human being was punishable by death, and all slaves and hired workers were to be set free in the year of Jubilee. God was on the side of the poor and the marginalised. In Isaiah 58 we read, "Is not this the kind of fasting I have chosen, to loose the chains of injustice and untie the cords of the yoke, to set the oppressed free and break every yoke?" As the Bible story progresses, the seeds which would later fatally undermine slavery were being sown. Jesus declared that he had come to set the captives free, and he died on the cross for all who believe, regardless of their social status. Paul could write in Galatians 3, "There is neither Jew nor Gentile, neither slave nor free, nor is there male and female, for you are all one in Christ Jesus." Slaves were no longer second-class citizens. Because of Jesus, slave and master could now be brothers. As Christians, we believe that everyone is created in the image of God and of inherent equal dignity and worth. Nobody should be kept in forced employment or made to work inhuman hours. No one should be owned by another person. But 34% of males in slavery here in the UK are being forced to undergo criminal activity. 33% of them are in forced labour. Of females in slavery here, 36% are being sexually exploited. In 2024, in the UK, over 19,000 people were passed on to the government's national referral mechanism for those in modern slavery, including 6,000 children. And that is just a fraction of the 130,000 victims who are currently estimated to be trapped in it here. Modern slavery remains a low-risk, high-profit crime for traffickers. Only one person is convicted for every 50 victims who are referred. The human rights professor Terry Coonan summed up the grim reality. Human trafficking is a multi-billion-dollar growth industry because, unlike drugs, which are gone as soon as they are used, humans can be recycled. Because they can continue to be exploited, they're a better investment for traffickers. The UK is a world leader in combating modern slavery. The Modern Slavery Act 2015 was the first major piece of anti-slavery legislation to be passed in almost 200 years. But since then, bills like the Illegal Migration Act have reduced access to victim support and disincentivised victims from coming forward. The rise in small boats crossing the Channel has led to an unhelpful conflation between illegal immigrants and people who have been forcibly trafficked here. Take Hussein Abdi Kahin. When he was 4, his father was killed in the Somaliland War of Independence. At 8, he was sent to live in Djibouti with his uncle, but shortly afterwards he was trafficked to the UK and told to use a different name. In London, a woman forced him to work for her if he wanted to be fed. She said, "If you ever want to see your family again, don't say anything." He was finally allowed to start school aged 12, although he hardly had any English. He discovered he had a talent for athletics and eventually confided in his PE teacher, who contacted social services and helped him to be fostered by another family. Well, that boy is Mo Farah, and he won 4 Olympic gold medals for Team GB. As Christians, we are called to be a voice for the voiceless and to protect the vulnerable. Those in modern slavery are often not able to leave due to threats, violence, coercion or deception. Some fear the authorities or are unable to communicate due to language barriers. Many need long-term support to recover from their trauma. So what can we do? Faced with a global problem like slavery, we might feel helpless. The American minister and abolitionist Edward Everett Hale said this, "I am only one, but I am one. I cannot do everything, but I can do something. And I will not let what I cannot do interfere with what I can do." So here are 3 things you can do. Firstly, be vigilant. Detective Sergeant Martin Linton of the Surrey Police Force said, "The more people who know about modern slavery, the better. The best investigations we run have started as a result of people reporting concerns." So be alert to signs of modern slavery and report any concerns you have to the Modern Slavery Hotline, rather than confronting someone directly. Particularly look out for things like someone appearing fearful and avoiding eye contact, or maybe being unwilling to communicate, or someone having few personal possessions, or perhaps someone who appears in poor physical health, or is malnourished, or is working excessively long hours with few breaks. And be aware that modern slavery is particularly prevalent in certain sectors, like nail salons and car washes. There's recently been a large expansion in cases within the care sector. One anti-slavery helpline reported a 606% increase in a year in the care industry alone. Next, be conscious. Estimates suggest that the UK imports around £20 billion worth of goods that are at risk of having been made using forced labour, particularly in electronic goods and clothing. Forced labour is most common in lower income countries, but that is connected to the demand from higher income countries like the UK, whether it's in production, manufacturing, or transportation. So think about how you can be an ethical consumer. Research for brands you use regularly. Investigate whether there are concerns about modern slavery being used in the supply chain. And finally, be an advocate. At CARE, we have a history of speaking up on behalf of victims of modern slavery. The Modern Slavery Act in 2015 actually enacted a number of our recommendations, including creating the new role of an independent anti-slavery commissioner, providing specific support for children who are being trafficked, and creating mechanisms which would allow the assets of people traffickers to be seized. But there is still much more to be done, including improvements to long-term victim support, reducing demand in the sex industry by criminalising the purchase of sex, and particularly better supporting children who have been trafficked. Many of them are alone in a foreign country and they do not know who to trust. And studies show that many child victims return back to their traffickers because of threats of violence to them or their families. Be vigilant, be conscious, and be an advocate. William Wilberforce himself once said, "Having heard all of this, you may choose to look the other way, but you can never again say you did not know." 200 years on, tragically, his words are just as relevant now as they were back then.